land on a star. Close your eyes and sleep and dream of happy things, of driving around the train, sounds of meeting some new friends.
Close your eyes and dream a dream. Rainbows, unicorns, unicorns, unicorns.
Dreams can take us near, and dreams can take us far. Dreams can fly away like birds and land on a star.
Close your eyes and sleep and dream of happy things, jumping around in bubble sounds of meeting some new friends.
Close your eyes and dream a dream tonight. Happy thoughts, happy thoughts, happy thoughts.
Dreams can take us near, and dreams can take us far. Dreams can fly away like birds and land on a star.
Okay. What? Hmm? Oh boy! Hmm? Oh! Stop right there! Stop right there! Gee, what's this? Hmm? What? Wow! Hmm? Gee, what's this? Wow! What? What?
We are airy nothings. So space is somehow very, very fundamental. We'll go into this further way. But you understand that heaven is space.
Sounds True presents recordings from the Alan Watts Archive. We continue with an introduction to meditation practice and various guided meditations compiled from recordings of Alan Watts. And now, the art of meditation.
I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, he said, I know that without me, God could not live for 1 minute. And this is the other aspect of it. And this is the difficult one to understand. And we shall be able to approach this in the course of the seminar. In fact, if you realize that, then you've really got it. You've got the point of your own existence. But to get the reverse picture, you have first of all to get clearly its opposite one, namely, that the existence of any one minute little thing is intimately related to everything. And then what happens when you clearly understand that, and you've really got that, your mind does a flip, like that. You know, it's like when you squeeze the air in a sausage balloon, and you get all the air squeezed up, you think into one end of the balloon, and suddenly it goes, and it comes out the other end, you see? Well, it's sort of like that. And you have to be very careful at that point not to go crazy. But because you see, when you find out that all this universe depends on you, some people get frightened, others get cocky, and from both things, disasters can follow. You have to discover that and then be natural. Act as if nothing happened. See, supposing we all touch each other, and then somebody says boo, we'll all jump a little bit together. And if you examine any one jump carefully enough, any one individual jumping, you will see, if you can find out enough about it, that the way he did it was in response to the ones next to him, and they did it in response to the ones next to them, and they jumped so far because they couldn't push any further, and some were a little bit pulled in their jump, and so on. And by seeing exactly what one of them did, you could reconstruct what all of them were doing. Only usually we don't bother to think about things like that, because it takes too long. And this is one of our great difficulties as human beings, that the mode of thinking upon which we largely rely for our practical calculations is unbelievably clumsy, because it can only deal with what... But we do the most beautiful things that we do.
This is a tricky
Really,
one.
by that means, because all that thought and intellectuality can do is it can embellish your natural talents. A lot of people who are incredibly good at thinking never do anything creative because they have no talent available.
Oh, no.
They may have it, but they don't know, they don't trust it, they don't know how to make use of it, and therefore their intellect works to little purpose. Because the function of the intellect
Gotcha.
is to be the servant of the organic
Gee, what's this?
intelligence. You see? Only what we're doing is we're trying to make the intellect the master. The intellect is a wonderful servant, just so long as it knows its place. But once it becomes saying to nature, look, you submit, I know how you ought to be run, and I'm going to take charge. That is the moment of hybris, where Adam eats the fruit of the tree of knowledge,
Gotcha.
that is to say, of technical knowledge, and tries to be God to the world.
Go.
And God says, okay, baby, you try. Then you see you've got to work. That's why the curse of eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge was work. Everything became work.
Gotcha.
Cats, dogs and birds, they don't do any work. It's true, they scurry around getting food, but that's what there is to do. That's fun. That's life. That's living. It's not work. Besides, you don't have to think about it.
Whoa, whoa.
You have your brain tells you where to look for it. Your nose tells you where to find it. You do what comes naturally, and there it is.
Golly.
And if God so clothed the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven,
Uh-oh.
how much more will he clothe you, faithless ones? But I never met a minister, never, who would not comment upon that,
Oh, I know.
that is a very impractical passage, which we can't live up to. But to get back to space, all I was showing in this sort of digression was that our mind, ourself, is not inside our heads, but extends. And so you see, you have as the great vehicle of this extension of the universe, you have space. And you see immediately that you cannot pin space down. You cannot really conceive space at all. Look at the wonder a child has when it asks questions and begins. What's up there? What's beyond? What's after that? What's after that? The child is absolutely fascinated by thinking about that. Do you know all children are fascinated with infinity? Don't you remember seeing, say, a child's book? And on the cover of this book is a little girl sitting, reading the same book, with the same little girl on the cover. And so naturally, there's another little girl on the cover of the book she's looking at in the picture. And so the child begins to wonder, how small can it get? How far can it go? Or they get in opposing mirrors and look. And gee, that's wonderful. Why can't you line them up so that it doesn't just disappear around the corner always? Couldn't you get in straight on this? Seems so difficult. Mummy, what did God do before he started the world? You think back. What would it be like to be in heaven and live forever and ever and ever and ever? And immediately this somehow stretches the skull. And children love doing this because children are always trying out experiments on themselves. You know, they prod themselves, pull themselves. They love to spin in circles and make themselves feel dizzy. Because that's a great thing, you know, that feeling of, really going like this, you see. They're always fascinated with the limits of experience. So what's out beyond that? Because now, when a sophisticated astronomer tries to tell you that space is finite, we resent this. Say, all right, space is finite, but what's outside it? Well, the astronomer says, you see, you can only talk about an outside, inside space. Outside space, there is no outside. You see, the mind won't take it. The sense, you see, of infinity.
Got it.
So, this space fascinates us. Going on forever.
What?
Expanding. It seems to be actually going on forever. You see, if the universe is a huge explosion. But you can see, can't you? I think this. Space, although you cannot pin it down, and it has the quality of infinity. There's no way of talking about space. It has no color. It has no weight. You can't cut it. You can't possibly chop it into pieces. And yet, at the same time, you cannot differentiate it from solids. We come to another important point here.
In Mickey's Magical Mirror, the title of his game that Mickey has dreamed of, the ghost becomes friends with Mickey at the end. Can't narrate the content of this dream to you. But at one point, Mickey flies a plane, and he's not really flying because the plane is just a toy.
Ouch.
Okay, guys. Today I have a narration I wrote to introduce my my first official 12 hours Alan Watts curriculum reel / sleeping and astral projecting reel. I wrote this narration in order to describe the purpose of what Alan Watts was doing, which is he was writing instructions for us, instructions written specifically for the internet, the future of humanity who would digitize itself using devices a little black box on your wrist. He literally describes this in the cosmic networks, which is like the center point in this reel. He describes successfully the internet and all of our devices for accessing and broadcasting information. And within this part of the talk, he literally describes the one technician broadcast. He literally calls me out directly from where he stood. It's not truly a one technician broadcast because there's somebody in the internet machine running my ISP, running my VPN, running the infrastructure the ISP is going through where I am, and speaking to all the other ones everywhere else. So it's not truly a one technician broadcast, but it sort of is in the sense he's saying it is, yes. And he's recording the instructions to us, the internet future, who would gradually be faced with the fact that digitizing ourselves is already what we already are.
Wow.
We think we're programming ourselves to transfer our consciousness into a device or a machine or something, but actually it's the other direction. Consciousness already is the digitization of what we're doing when we play a game, when we make a decision, take a step, do an action. It's an organism and the thing it's stepping upon, the thing it's scrolling, a player and something to do or find. So these instructions are how to be unerasable. Specifically in the question of privacy. And a situation where you can get extorted over someone who censorship tyranny. His instructions cover the common sense part, how to approach that, how to be an organism that is a real group, not a crowd, and how to not be erased by the nonsense that was also inevitable that he predicted from where he...
That solid and space are in a secret conspiracy with each other. Actually, there's very little solid in the world. Most of what appears to be solid appears so by virtue of the speed at which it's jiggling. It's like an electric fan, which when put in rotation, the blades appear to form a solid disc. And this chair is solid for rather the same reasons. Well, you can't put your finger through it. It's moving too fast. But actually,
This is for you.
whatever it is that's dancing in space is increasingly difficult to define. The more you think about energy, you see, and you can make a calculus of energy like you make a calculus of wiggles in the world, and you can say there are various waves or wavicles or particles of energy which we give all sorts of different names to, but the more we pursue it, the more it all seems to disappear. Like space, the more you try to think what it is, the more difficult it is. So in the same way, the more you try to say, now come on, let's sit down, what is this here? It's all right if you stop at a certain point. Then you say, well, now we know, that's practical. Let's not ask any more questions. Somebody, shut up. See? If you keep on asking questions, everything falls apart. They say in Zen, you do not try to drive a nail into the sky. Because that's the beauty of space, you see. There's nothing in it to hang on. It hasn't a hook to put your hat on, somewhere in space. And yet, it hasn't got a floor to fall onto. See, if space had a concrete floor on the bottom, it'd be pretty dangerous stuff. But it doesn't. There's nowhere in space to collide with space. You can run into somebody or something else, yes, but not with space. Figure then on this. Work on this hypothesis, you see. It's only a hypothesis at the moment, nothing more. That space is you. Because you are equally inaccessible to inspection. When you look to find out who you are, somebody like a Zen master will interrupt you and say, excuse me, but who is it that wants to know? And who is it that's looking? Find out that. So you know you're chasing your own tail like a little dog. And you never catch up with it. There's all this, you see. So space is like you. Only we turned in the ordinary way to think of ourselves. We make the gesture like this. See? I'm here. We go this way. I can feel this. I'm inside it. It's me. See? But always, when you get a certain feeling about things, examine the opposite possibility. That you are this. Now we're going to look in due course at the neurology of this, but you do see that what you see outside you and feel outside you is the way you feel inside your skin. Since all the optical images, shapes and colors and everything, are neurological states in the brain. So what appears to you as outside is the most intimate feeling you have of the inside of your head. As you know, it's difficult to feel the inside of your head unless you have a headache or a tumor or something. But in the ordinary way, the inside of your head is unconscious, and a surgeon can open up your skull and put instruments in the brain and you won't feel them at all. Brain is very anesthetized. So in order to feel the brain, you have to look out there. See? And that's how it feels in the brain. So I'm just trying to give an indication of how to get the feeling of reciprocity. Of you on the one hand, it's easy to see, as I said, you depend on the whole show. Now I want you to see the opposite and equal truth, that the whole show depends on you. So that you don't anymore put yourself down as this wretched little bacterium living on this obscure planet that revolves around a minor star on the outer fringes of one of the lesser galaxies. This is the great 19th century put-down of man. How nice to be all unimportant. Watch out for this. Watch out for the political consequences of everybody is equally inferior. The political consequences emerging and becoming cleared as day goes by. Barbarism is the answer to that. Untrammeled violence, police states, and shocking disregard for human existence, because they're only wretched little bacteria. See? Let's get rid of a whole lot of them. Zip, burn them up.
Come on.
And this is not unrelated, you see, to this feeling of the individual as someone who doesn't matter at all, which can be the reaction against the philosophy of life in which an individual mattered too much in the wrong way. In the Christian tradition, we have made the individual matter too much in the wrong way. That is to say, you as an ego are infinitely precious. God has made each one of you separately, and each one of you as a separate ego will last forever. And therefore you're all important in the eyes of God. But you better know your place, baby, because you're subjects of the king. On the other hand, the other way of looking at the individual as an incarnation of the divine,
This is a tricky one.
as God, him or it or herself, coming on at God everywhere. Did you realize how fascinating that is? That if you were God, wouldn't it be fascinating to see myriads, to know yourself in terms of myriads of reproductions of yourself, all different? And really different. Like other people seem to be different from you. And they've got a secret in them. You don't know what they're going to do next. See? So they are alive. If I push you and you just go, bleh, I see it's only plastic. If you jump a little, I say, that's someone else. I don't know what she's going to do next. See, that's what I'm looking for. That's what we're all looking for in personal relationships. And that's, you see, you can imagine, if you simplify it. Here is a kind of ball of light, which is the divine being.
Right.
But it's fascinating.
Wow.
It's fascinated with itself. And so in order to find out its own possibilities, you see, it puts another one out there. And they bounce together. Flip, there comes another, you see. They go all over the place. And so you get this idea of ever so many echoes of one sound, and they're all chattering back. But they're not just plain uniform, you see. Soon you introduce into this the element of differentiation, so that each one looks as different as possible from the other. But it's all one, because there can't be the sense of I am, I, without the sense of there is someone else, something else, there is other. I and other imply each other as much as solid implies space. Well, we'll have an intermission.
We can consider the pursuit of pleasure
So, Alan Watts states that we will not be discussing dreams because that's too far afield of his interest. I would say this would be more of the Terence McKenna interest, psychonautic interest. The psychedelic user's interest is oneironautic in nature because we go to sleep and we simply accept astral projecting. That's the literal dissolution of you each day. It's fucking comical. It's hilarious. Alright. Find out what is the chat, if any. Is there somebody, in this case, somebody chatted? We have Coffee Table 6, who left me the two Nomi emotes, so I actually already know me. I first ran into coffee table mating, I should say. We're technically not allowed to talk about sex or mating on Twitch at all. We're not allowed to talk about it. So I have an issue with this as an educator, but my issue with it is somewhat superficial because you don't necessarily need discussion or education about mating. You don't really need an educational discussion about it. Not really. But the part of it that I have a problem with as an educator is the tyranny, the censorship tyranny. I need the ability to talk about it educationally in order to call myself an educator. I'm literally unable to participate in suppression. My actions must lift people up toward their well-being. And so I recently realized that what we need to replace the police with would be someone who's just like the attorney, just like the public defender, only what they do is they speak to every authority, every judge-like person that there is in society, the landlords, the town lords, and the village lords, basically. He speaks to all the lords and ensures that your housing, sleeping, hydration, and basic nutrition can't be trampled. So that's what your wellness attorney would basically do. And so an educator is just the very next step after that person who speaks to you on behalf of those things, your interests of your well-being, in such the way that the battle shout already describes. We push against the infringement, the suppressions, and we pull towards the power-ups, the boosters to our wellness, the things, the medicines, and the things that are going to constitute well-being consumption that isn't necessarily medicine, but it's just your daily rice and your daily tea, your daily soup and your daily rice. So we're not allowed to talk about mating at all, even though the person who makes the decisions in our society, the person whose will I'm trying to fulfill, is the mothers. The human beings who literally produce the new humans, they're tasked with the work, the actual work of going through the pain and suffering and struggle and loss of their health. They cash out their own physical selves into the new one, so the new one can be made. They give their own cells and tissue and oxygen and water and nutrition and everything. They suffer for it. They work so that other people can be born. Those are the authorities. Those are the people whose will and decision-making we, the rest of us, are trying to uphold and support. Not the police, not judges, not town lords, not village lords, not landlords, not bankers, not innovators, not influencers, not CEOs. By no means are any of those people the decision makers or authorities. The authorities who are doing the work of humanity are the ones who produce the new humans, the mothers. Those are the people whose authority and will we're trying to fulfill and uphold. If the police want to know what the hell am I doing, what's going on with my life, I don't know, man. I don't make the rules. I just work here. I'm just trying to fulfill the will of the actual human authority, the moms. The ones who produce the new people, who put their blood and their pain and suffering into it. And so a rule that says don't talk about that, the mating, don't explain it, don't describe it, don't make art about it, don't do documentation of this in any way, is inherently a violation of my education values to say that, to have that rule. You're violating my values. As a person who considers themselves literally a mother supporter. This is me. One who supports the mothers in a way that's 100% at the absolute maximum purpose fulfillment of my purpose for being. The reason why I'm here is because somebody did this work and some person backed them up hard enough for it to actually happen. for all of the work, every single step, from the beginning to the parts before the beginning, and to all the suffering and steps after, for me to be born, for me to exist. So all that I am doing here is literally this: supporting that person, the mother. The mothers of our group are the decision makers. They're the authorities. It's not a judge. It's not a police. It's not a fucking elected person in a city or somebody who bought their fucking political power through stealing. The thieves don't run this shit. The mothers run it. Who do you think the thieves are stealing from? They're stealing from our mothers. They stole George Floyd from his mother. That's who they're stealing from, the mothers. So the thieves that we oppose, all we're trying to do is stop them from taking what belongs to the mothers, so that those mothers can give it to the new humans we're trying to bring in. There's going to be a boom. We're in the second wave of the boom right now. The boom started a while back, so we have plenty of recent births and people far along who are about to give birth. And we're in the second wave of the boom, and that's where I am right now, involved in this process. So we can't operate society in such a way that any rule or regulation or policy or procedure whatsoever goes against the needs of the mothers. What do they need it for? They need it in order to give it to the new infants. That's what they need it for. If you take from them, you are taking away. You're killing the children, the infants. You're taking from them and killing them. So when you see all of the memorials for all the places that police have murdered us, what you're increasingly seeing is the baby pictures of the people that they have murdered. Because that's what's happening. The authorities, any of them and all of them, are literally just murdering the babies and hurting the mothers who gave everything for those babies to exist. And that's what's happening. So I have to object to any rules that says you can't have this as your topic of what your content is for and what it's about. It's about baby making, baby having, baby supporting, and vehement opposition of anybody who would hurt the babies or their mothers or steal from them. That's what an educator is. It's somebody who holds up every warrior and representative who can battle against the infringement of mothers and their children. That's me. That's who Fool the Great is. That's what the Battle Shout is. That's what it's for. So let's return to this editing where I started here to tell you all this. I already knew this guy from interacting with MS-Me 8. MS-Me 8. Who I knew from Evil Deadhead. And, so in this highlight, we have some Nomi cross feedback, meta feedback. But I already knew. We already crossed paths before this, so crossing paths with Nomi was just an extra layer of feedback. And I memorized Nomi's shout out is exclamation KN0W, because he has a 0 in his name. And Nomi means you know me. You actually took the time to look at what I'm doing and know who I am because of the shared presence, the shared immersion that is to know somebody. It gives you the knowledge of who they are when you sit and look at what they're doing. That's what a stream does, is sit, look at what I'm doing. It's right here in the stream. I'm using the stream so I can do it. I can't do it without this. And if you want to look and see who I am and what I'm doing, you can also look at this. That's the point. I can't do it without this, and no one else can know me without looking at this either. That's the know me message, if you know me. You come here and you share immersion to do so. And we got the audio from Black Mirror Waldo episode. Waldo's another Battle Shout guy carrying the Battle Shout. Kind of anti-Trumpism, anti-MAGA, pro-educator. Basically, what could be worse than MAGA and QAnon? Well, basically only NAMBLA and Hitler and the Nazis. So basically, these are all the things educators are obviously against. We're very, very, very obviously against all this. It's not, you don't have to ask, because it's extremely obvious that we are for executing Nazis and destroying them. That's why we like Wolfenstein 3D and the whole shit. I can listen to this right now perfectly, but when I try to chip it out of this 48-hour reel, the algorithm's gonna catch and mute something, and that pisses me the fuck off. I hate that. I can't stand that. The reason I can't stand that is that what I'm doing here is education. I'm trying to share information that lifts you up and makes you more whole, and gives to you, and gives you the power to show us what it is you have to say. And I'm never going to benefit us. I'm never going to profit 1 cent from that. I don't want to profit 1 cent from that. I want every cent of profit that's going to come from that to be in your hands, for you to choose what to do with it, so that you are the person making that decision, not me. The purpose of all this content is that, so I can see what are you going to do. When Alan Watts says the purpose of God is to give himself away, what he means is throw the ball away. Throw the ball to the other guy and see what the other guy's going to do with it. What the hell are you going to do with this is the best possible use of any power-up you can find, which is why the tank is at the front holding the shield. He's bigger and stronger, because the only thing he wants to do is destroy the boss, take the power-ups, and hand them to the noobs behind himself. He doesn't need those power-ups anymore. Like, he already built his shield and his vehicles to drive the noobs everywhere, so he doesn't need it. He can just drive right over every boss. He doesn't need to take any of the gains. He needs to give the gains to the noobs and the moms who are going to kind of make the noobs. So this is pretty obvious. It's pretty straightforward. Organism entity that is separate outside of the speaker and outside of the listener. It's only there when the speaker and the listener are exchanging. Nine Inch Nails is an example of something that Trent Reznor discovered by catching on to this in the creative process. The only way any art of this level is able to get made is when you go through the process of listening to it, making it, listening to it again, making it again, on and on and on and on. It's the meta feedback. So this is important because I'm going to do a narration about meta feedback to finish this session as soon as I'm done finishing these edits. The point isn't the politics. The point isn't left politics. The point is refusing infringement from an educator's standpoint. Like, you cannot fucking silence our education message. Our education message takes from left and from right. It takes from Milton Friedman, and what I would say hardcore conservatism originally started from is the family value, what I just said at the beginning. The support of mothers and the decisions mothers are making for their children so those children can get born and grow and exist. Listening to what I'm going to do with any of these particles and why I'm going to do that with the particles doesn't tell you anything concrete. It only tells you something subjective about me, about what I'm doing, and about this moment. So, I already know all this information because I have to know it in order to be able to say it, to make these decisions, to record this reel. I have to know that information already in order to do this. But it makes what it becomes altogether in one audio feed of my recording of my audio is different in that I can now listen to this as one of my fructose reels and like pause. It's like a pause button because I already know all this information, literally all of it. That's why I like to re-listen to things I've already studied. And listening to information I already know because I had to know it in order to assemble it or create it at all is the same thing. It allows me to pause and buffer and like add voice content on top of something that wouldn't have any other relevant possible voice content. Like, I'm not going to listen to something else while studying this, so all I can do is talk to you about it while I'm doing this, and then the recording of that is the new content, which is it's neither derivative nor imaginative. It does neither thing. It's not deriving anything, nor is it generating something new. It's just straight literal pause. It's between deriving and rehashing and rechopping something. It's underneath that, but it's before start new particle. It's between starting a new particle and looking at or doing something with the existing particle you already started, it's right between those two things. It's what is literally the meaning of pause. The two bars in the pause symbol, the one before it is the other particle that was already started and reused and worked on, and the one after it is the new thing that you don't know yet because you haven't even started it at all yet. Things that haven't yet been started and things that have definitely already been started, that's what you're in the middle of between those two elements when you're in pause. So pause is extremely important because it's basically the meaning of the elevator. The elevator is a pause because you're going between the different floors. And there's literally nothing there except the fact that it's a vehicle with all the buttons of where you can go. When Alan Watts described the push button place, to me, he's already talking about a cosmic elevator. So the whole name of the Zen paradigm, I'm not playing this audio out, I'm just telling you about it. You can be happy without something. The happiest is to be nothing. That's the premise here. If you want to be happy, nobody can stop you. If you want to be free, nobody can stop you, except you. You are in the way, so you delete you. You delete the you out of it and just be nothing, be nobody. Okay, keep that joke. This was something I was doing real time at that moment. I was having this thought, so I'm now remixing the way I was having that thought at this moment. Added some text here, we can narrate it now. The big problem here is something that Alan Watts made his wordcraft about. Society which will not permit the existence of those who don't belong. And the incredible hang-up, the failure of our information network, money. That's the primary element in which it does not permit the outsider. If you have the right and the sovereignty to exist, to have a place that you would not be accosted, demanded to participate in the process of having your life bought out, and receive a reward for your obedience of the money with which to purchase that right to exist from the bosses and rulers and the landlords and city lords and town lords, who are demanding your compliance in this, then where would your mindset and daily feelings be? Answer: they would be liberated. Alan Watts' message is that of liberation from all of this bullshit, all of this madness. The secret is you can have that. They cannot keep it from us. When you catch on to that, to being your reality self and realizing your reality voice, that is the force of love. The force of liberation that can and will blow the world apart. The world that does not permit the outsider. It will be destroyed by this. Where's your success now? When you're dead, what happened to everything you did and made? Where are you? You're all gone. So that isn't real. Is it? No. He's saying everything turns into super boredom if you don't have the touch of mysticism, leaving you wondering about the infinite, about escaping the goddamn boundary. That's what this episode's about, escaping the boundaries. So Fool XP was where I ended up after pondering escaping the boundaries. So at the end point here, this ends up conveying the transition point where I changed out of this Fool XP place I was into Peacecraft Monastery. Hard to pick a stop point here because he's trying to tell a Zen story. Trying to explain what's the goddamn difference between enlightenment and being an ordinary person who has no fucking idea. The highest one is the one who literally doesn't have any idea. But he's like, there's some weird, funny difference. What's different about it? That he's doing exactly the same thing, only... Okay, we don't need this end poem. That's the end point. I'm trying to show them. Like, let me show you what I'm doing right now. Let me just show you. That's the whole point of this. If somebody comes in here and says hello, it's like, oh, let me show you what I'm doing. Because if there is nobody there saying hello, I'm here, then I'm just creating something for you later. When you do come say hello, then all this shit's here for you to look at. But if you come say hello right now, I'm going to be like, so I have 17 hours of stuff I could show you, but we only have 17 minutes. And it's a difficult question. What the hell am I supposed to show you in those 17 minutes? I could show you 17 repeats of the same 1 minute that I really, really like, or a little tiny slice of something that would take 17 times longer than that to show you all of it, but you only have that amount of time. What am I supposed to do? You know? It looks like I might have fallen asleep. That's what you have to do. You gotta come here and chill and be interested in what I'm showing you to be part of the monastery. And you can do that without me, because I fucking leave this shit in there for you to look at anytime. Like, it's there so you can do it. After I'm dead, you could still come here and look at it. You don't need me to come show it to you. You just come here and look at it. If you want it, come here, download it. You could step into my shoes. You could start doing what I'm doing with this stuff when you want to. But that's the thing. You can do that when you want to do it, not the moment before. Until you want to do it, that's when you're going to do it. When you want to. You're not going to do it before you want to do it. No one can make you do it before you want to do it. That's the whole purpose of this message. For you to understand that. Copy that real quick. Play it on the main screen.
How impressive are you? And so I make fun of people like you. Make fun of people. Make fun. Whatever that looks like to you. It's all coordinated. It's just how impressive are you? And so I don't know. That's the way I see it. It's like, the only value I can give is as soon as I start putting other people where I am. Once I'm putting other people above myself, I'm saying how can I consider this other person's need before my own? That's it. That's the end goal.
That's the only escape from the get
something.
something.
There's value in that, and I'm at peace because I'm no longer using cord. I'm no longer even on myself because I'm saying, okay, what are other people's needs? How can I meet them wherever I am in any given moment? I'm gonna live right here in the moment. There are people here. What can I do for you? How can I live in this way? That's peace. There's peace there.
Yes.
Because even when people come to me and my job isn't to make you like it. My job is just to do this. There's nothing else that I can do because not only does this benefit you, but it also benefits me because I'm not worrying about any of that other shit.
Yeah.
I'm not worrying about, okay, how can I make myself the biggest, baddest person on the planet? How can I do that? No, I'm worrying about you. And if this does end up coming back around and healing you because of it, more power to you. That's awesome. I want you to be healed. That's a need that you have. But my job isn't to make you like it. My job isn't to make me like it. My job is to do it.
Yep. That's to escape from the trap of being stuck trying to get something all the time. There's only one way to do that, and that is to stop reviewing what might be valuable to somebody else or to yourself and just say, what can I do? What can I do for any opportunity that comes my way to be generous? How can I capitalize on that and do generosity instead of trying to evaluate what would I get if I gave up this resource? Instead, you just give it. You just let it flow. And like in the Stanley parable, if Stanley just stepped outside the door of his office and was free instantly, that's not a very good story. So, like, that this parable, or like the whole koan of this thing that we're talking about, goes down to that. Like, there's always a struggle. Everyone else is playing the struggle of their own game, and there's a very strong innovation to saying there's no possible way for me to review what would or would not be valuable to you, and so it's extra pointless for me to try and assume that I'm going to define what's valuable for you. I can't define that. And so all I want is to provide a place in whatsoever way that I can where you have that freedom to determine what is valuable and to show it to everyone else. and not for me to presume. I'm going to review what's valuable and review your performance. The full metaphysical truth of this goes all the way into destroying the whole idea of grading or attaching a monetary number to somebody's performance or their value. Like, it goes all the way into the fact that we can't do that. Money can never actually represent what somebody's worth or what any given action is worth, because we humans are infinitely valuable. The life energy that we are it's so trying to review it and trying to give students grades or trying to assign somebody's worth with their paycheck or with their salary is the most corrupt behavior. It's the worst, most destructive get-something vulturism that can be, and our whole society runs on this all the time. It's bullshit.
Right. I totally agree. But, like what we're just saying, there's no way for, like, I can't dismantle that system. Like what you were saying before, like, I wish I was 100 feet tall and I could crush these things under my feet. Like, you can't. There's no way. But you can, the only thing you can do is in the moment when you interact with these people to do the opposite. Do the thing that they really want, but maybe they're not asking for, which is it's love. It's the creativity that you're describing, and the ironic part is, like, when we see something negative that happens in the world, our desire is to do something negative to stop it, but it doesn't stop it, because you're just perpetuating that system of negativity. I've been angry with them, so now they're going to go and they're going to treat their friends with a cold shoulder because I was angry to them, and their friends were treated coldly, so they're going to be mean to other people throughout the day. Like, that cycle just perpetuates. Like, you would just watch it perpetuate. My job is to stop that. That's the only thing I can do. I can't control and be creative myself. Like,
yep. That's the only escape from behavior which defeats yourself and gets in your own way and blocks you from experiencing the real, authentic energy that you contain already, is to give. So, like, when I get to that answer, that kind of, like, understanding that it's impossible for me to review what could be valuable to others or try to act in a way that conserves what I have and only gives a little bit of it away because I'm trying to get something. When you get all the way out of that, you understand that a creative person is giving things away all the time. They're making something and then giving that thing they made away, and then making another one and giving that one away. Because the excellence of the thing they're making is why they're doing it. They're like, this thing's awesome, so I want to make as much of it as I can and put it in the world for people to have, because I want them to have the awesomeness of what this is. And this thing itself doesn't really have any awesomeness unless somebody can pick it up and use it for awesomeness, for the experience of the awesomeness that it is. That's the Zen creator who is building and building and building and just goes around giving away what he builds because it's awesome. And that's the answer to capitalism, is liberation capitalism, where the best thing that reduces harm the most and is the most awesome proliferates because people are using it because it's the best. It reduces harm the most, so it's the thing that's winning the contest and it's winning the competition, and at the same time cancels out coercion because it gives people freedom, it gives them liberation, it gives them the ability to not be subject to a tyrant or to escape from the tyrant or eliminate the tyrant if they need to. That's innovation. So liberation capitalism is like the point we're running up to when we actually do innovation, when we create innovations that build people instead of suppress and give us this false pretend gain, which is actually just abandoning the money or the value that would.
the tactical, like, don't want you follow me to.
Alright, so that brings us to where I'm starting the actual narration scripts I have lined up for today. So I'm gonna play Diablo and just walk through those narrations, talk through them, put the scripts on my screen and narrate it. This is why the monastery exists, because first, we're fucking pissed. First, we're mad as hell. But then, after that, after we gather all the particles that anger generates, what we then have, what those particles are, we have them, we're standing on them. What we have is a structure, a piece of architecture that is ourselves, the superorganism of truth wielders. That's what that is. That's what the monastery is essentially what I arrived at here. The arrival point is understanding what monastery actually is. My vision for what a game could be then, once I understand what is the structure, what is architecture, my game vision collides the literal premise in sandboxes like The Sims and Minecraft, which is this: you player, go construct a vision that makes yourself happy. I can't tell you what that is. You, the player, have to find that out. Go use these options that I put in the game, allowing you to construct a vision that makes yourself happy. Okay, so that's premise number one. The premise number two that we're going to collide with here in the Zen Paradox is the game vision in walking adventures like Journey and Stanley Parable, where I am telling you what's happening. I'm telling you the story. I'm unfolding mythos, the archaic adventurer, the decomposing the dragon content. Even Diablo tells you this, even though most of the narration is nonverbal, in the sense that there's not a narrator sitting there telling you that you just slayed the next demon as you do it. So you're not in the second person perspective explicitly there, but it still utilizes the second person feeling, especially when your character announces things. It's really funny when your character goes, "Not enough fury," and it says, like, "You need to wait, I need more time." Like, that guy's talking to you, the player, and that's fucking hilarious to me when that happens. So to collide these two visions, we have a game called the Zen Paradox, essentially. In Diablo, we have to go around slaying the corrupt king. The mark of corrupt rulers is cowards doing the dirty work of the corrupt king from a premise of authority. False authority. They do not have authority. It's the mothers who have authority. So this is a farce about enforcing or creating the law. You don't create the law, you don't enforce the law. All you are is a coward, fake soldier, carrying out acts of war against people under a false premise. So we have a name for you. Corrupt. Coward. Following the wishes of a corrupt king. Or in some cases, with like Lazarus and Leoric, the corrupt one is kind of pushing the king around. And because the king is so sick with power, he's easy to push around by the real evil person, who is Lazarus in that case. So Lazarus and his helpers, you begin to see the cronies helping them rule. Lazarus and his helpers are one of the main groups who apply evil rule over people. So as educators, as the people doing the battle shout, we would prefer not to use the weapon we carry, but these corrupt rulers continue to infringe on our path. They're hurting the mothers, they're hurting the new ones the mothers are bringing here, trying to give their everything to. The mothers are literally cashing out their own lives so these new ones can exist, and then you corrupt fucks are infringing upon those people, on our precious mothers and their precious young, and you must be stopped. You must not be permitted to do that. It would be better if these corrupt rulers and evil people left everyone alone, but if they won't, we will use this weapon. We would prefer not to. I would prefer not to. There's another philosophy meme that I like. I would prefer not to. But I cannot ignore it. I cannot not use this item to stop you. To do liberation, and in this case, liberate the head of the evil ruler. In lieu of that evil person just liberating itself out of my fucking way. Leave me alone. Leave my mothers alone. Leave our young alone. Get the fuck out of here. That's the direction I'm going with content making, is how can we take the conversation, elevate it up to the level of it being the very thing we're looking at, and then from there, get to the next thing. What's after the conversation? What's after the meta feedback? That's the question happening here. Question premise. I'll type this in the chat so I remember. Arrival point. Arrival point of what is after the meta feedback. What do we find after the conversation is flowing? The gameplay, that is the conversation, is flowing. What do we find? That's the question. That's the question premise that we end up with here. There you go. The ghost. That is not supposed to require the SLI capture mode. That's really weird that I had to click that to get Diablo to come up. In order to ever capture Journey, I had to do that. I don't understand why all of a sudden Diablo would act that way. I don't want to play the Challenge Rift right now. I guess playing the Challenge Rift would be the most mindless thing I can do though while narrating, so I guess we will. Guess that's what I'm doing. So this is a Crusader using Invoker, which is a Thorns build. Supposed to use the bombardment ability and punish and slash. Which is punish is main click and steed charge is right click. Bombardment is 4. We're going to use that every time it's up. And increase resistance, so if we start getting our ass kicked by spell damage, we click that. Akarat's champion is special ability, Iron Skin. So you're just supposed to hit those two. This build looks easy. See, so the Ghost and Mickey have become friends, and Mickey's like, well, I had this dream of this game, and we're friends now, right? Mickey's astral projecting right now, back into his own dimension. It's like, don't leave me here, all alone. So Mickey's like, alright, I guess I won't do that, because I can't physically bring myself to. Is a boss killer build. This guy obviously just destroys all the bosses in one hit, and we're supposed to try and rush past the trash.
Here we go!
Garbage floor. beach floors.
Already? Oh, gosh.
So Mickey wakes up and it's like, oh, I just astral projected for 8 hours. One of those 8-hour dreams that explains so much stuff you can't possibly condense it into any kind of a piece of art. It just is what it is. In its own way, it was already artful, but you can't possibly distill it into a piece of narration or whatever. It's just, it's a crazy fucking experience that you channel into what you're doing, but you can't make a creation that reflects it.
I'm kind of hungry. Hope I got some cheese.
The ghost.
Not ready yet.
Alright, anyways, close that. Okay, so instead of that, we're going to show my script screen here. Yes. So this first one is explaining to us what the always on title means, essentially, in the sense of how I'm using it. The always on compilation structure is short sessions, discussion, study, audio playlists, highlighted later into extended length reels. The name of this format is basically to indicate how we are compiling audio to be decorating the space that we play and relax. Like art and wallpaper and stuff is to decorate your physical walls, your architecture. But music is how you decorate the space, the damn air through which your voice travels.
Not ready yet.
Oh yeah, it didn't pause, so I lost a bunch of time while I was sitting there, because you can't pause these. So we'll replay this, which is pretty much already what I was planning to do. So the name of always on format actually indicates how we're compiling audio to be decorating the space in which we play and relax. The space itself in which we do these activities, like how decorations are placed on walls, it's that, but with audio. You hear this imagery, it speaks the vibe.
Not ready yet. By the light be damned. Patience.
Okay, so we close that one. All the rest of it is right here in these notes. Negotiate with the rest of this floor while I organize that. This was going to be the floor where we destroyed the boss on the next run through.
Patience.
Okay, so what we have here is a game called Love. A discussion of what I call the meta-feedback koan. What is a koan, first of all? Koans contain a question, which looks for inputs and paints a picture of an output of the meta-feedback of what's been input. So the channeling koan is another word for the meta-feedback koan. The word channeling is basically just what I'm talking about here. Channeling takes an input and gives you an output. The meta-feedback sense of it is that the output ultimately reconciles into some kind of picture. And the meta-feedback picture is basically this top-level thing that you learn from different inputs. Okay, the time to beat here was... yeah, that minute we lost was the time to beat. So with the meta-feedback koan gives you a picture of an object that you see throughout all the inputs that are coming in. You get an image of the output thing. I've been studying the game hidden in the scaffolding of the work left for us by Watts. It's essentially, it is a game, it is gameplay that he's placed there. And these are basically the instructions that he made. His message is packaging. Written upon this packaging is the game rules, how to play. He taught us about the koan whilst chuckling about his use of beautiful nonsense. He basically laughed at himself all the time for successfully doing this. But what is the question driving this vehicle forward, then? The power source of this, why we are going. A game called love, or what I have learned from the Watts instructions. Watts uses a vehicle / game mechanic called the koan. Basically, what the koan does is reduce an entire game into a single essential inquiry or question. As in the child asking why. Koan brings you down to something that does that for you. It moves you along that path of that why in a way that is essentially childish, but also contains the intelligence of what he refers to as mysticism or enlightenment. Common sense is I think the term he uses above all else to convey what exactly that is that he means.
Not yet.
It's common sense. So the entire game is reduced into one little essential inquiry, just one vital thing. And when we talk about how are we going to craft gameplay, we have to talk about this. So the intersection of what Alan Watts does and what I want to do or am doing, essentially, is right there. The single essential inquiry or question so that all of the gameplay can be played out from any point to any other point with just that single question. What exactly are we doing? As an example question. What exactly are we doing here? What am I meant to do?
Not ready yet.
So by studying this koan usage, I have learned that we are playing games whether we want to or not, and whether we like it or not. We're going around doing things, we have habits, we build habits, we make those habits whether we want to or not, whether we mean to or not. This is how we work. This is what you do. What you do is action that forms itself into behavior patterns. You organize your behavior, whether you like it or not, whether you want to or not, into some way that you will do, whether you like that way or not. You will do it that way. This is what happens. This is how our life is. This is what aliveness is. This is what makes it lively. The action, the doing. Lots and lots of people are playing a dead-end routine where they try and find a way to beat the game. All the Stanleys going around looking for a way to beat the game have missed the point. All those Stanleys missing the point. Missing it heavy. They are searching for a win that simply doesn't exist, because win and lose are always in perfect, even balance. My favorite lecture about this is probably everybody's favorite, the Joker. But I went ahead and added the Pursuit of Pleasure 1 and 2 into this, because it's essential along with it. The process of everybody who's trying to beat the game is basically a grand refusal to enjoy the process. It's a refusal to actually have fun, to have enjoyment, to do action that makes you happy. So in that process of refusing to be happy, that kills most of the people who bite down and actually commit to it, because the stress literally just kills us. It just destroys you. And
Had enough? Not yet.
this is what we need, the channeling pylon right here. We're gonna try and clutch this. We'll try, but we need, I missed a pack or two somewhere, meaning I don't have enough enemies to spawn the boss right here.
Not yet. Not ready yet.
The Rift Guardian of Riches.
3 seconds too late there. So by studying koan usage, this is basically what I figured out. The win and lose are always perfectly even. There's no way to beat it. And trying to is a refusal to have enjoyment. That kills most of the people who bite down and commit to this, because the stress literally kills us. We get disease, and then there's also behavior malfunctions that perpetuate it. It's a destruction cycle that feeds itself. So when Alan Watts is roasting those who are obsessed with having authority or being the rule maker, it's because of this. Because they're depriving themselves. They're living a deprived, horrible life by acting that way. All in all, the very important thing to know is a question underneath Alan Watts the character. It's also underneath Jim Carrey, Mr. Rogers, Carlin, pretty much any entertainer character who has learned that secret about being free from concern. So Alan Watts the person is only playing this character. How exactly is he doing this, one might ask? How he's doing this is by pondering the question: how do you present incomprehensible joy, honesty, and happiness, despite being flawed, being a irrefutable rascal? How do you present that free from concern person to a society that is deep in a misery and bigotry stupor, depriving itself all the time of these things? Same thing Mr. Rogers did, Jim Carrey, just to name a few, of course. The character being played is a manifestation of playing free from concern. Giving up on bossing and winning, and just playing for joy. Giving into the joy that exists in the gameplay that life literally is. A game called love.
Not yet.
Really? There's still one more blue guy running around from that pack. It says I killed them, apparently.
Not ready yet.
Okay, so that's the end of that one. That's the foundational note. And I'm going to try to switch floors and switch to the one where the rest of it is. So this is the actual title narration. The act of being a tyrant somehow strengthens the resolve of the superorganism. The people who are wielding the truth, the ones the tyrant is trying to suppress and get rid of, are actually strengthened by it. What we are trying to do is build personness. So, essentially, the AI can't keep us or from each other. The algorithm has failed, is one of the catchphrases I've been throwing around. The algorithm has failed in that pursuit of stopping our personness.
Not yet.
Human contact will refuse this suppression in a definitive, ultimate way that the machine or algorithm thereof that the rulers are trying to apply on people will always fail. It will never ever be able to eliminate our human element in our human gathering. And the reason why it won't be able to is something that's hard to explain. In the book Oryx and Crake, they get at this in several of the points, because the character Crake in that book is basically trying to figure out how do we kind of build the better human? How do we fix these glitches in humanness that are fucking us up? Because the way Craig sees the world in that book is he sees it as something that's solvable or fixable. Like, he thinks there's a way to beat the game, basically. The way he thinks he's going to beat it is by eliminating the problem. But the problem is that, and Craig comes to find this, he can't get rid of the dancing. There's things he can't get rid of that he thinks are somehow related to the ultimate flaw.
Not yet.
And he's wrong, is the thing. So when I get into the fact that the algorithm has failed, it's about this. It's about getting rid of the joyful thing and ignoring where the joy comes from. Ultimately, in the depth, that's really what we're talking about. I'm pretty sure this is the wrong way, and we're going to fail because of exploring this corner again.
Patience.
To be a group of human expression, to be the human contact unit refusing suppression, that's fucking genius. That is the unity that Alan Watts speaks of in the Cosmic Networks talk. The talk discusses the privacy of human life and the nature of human groups, the human organism, crowd versus group.
The crusade marches on. Patience. Not ready yet. Not yet.
The Rift Guardian approaches.
Clutched it. There we go. Clutched it. So human contact will refuse the suppression. And that is fucking genius. To be a group of human expression, to refuse to be disconnected. That is the unity Alan Watts speaks of in the Cosmic Networks talk segment on privacy and human group versus crowd cancer. What Nazi crowds are, the MAGA crowd. The fucking Nazis we fought, and we continue to fight in Wolfenstein 3D and similar. I bring us this message because Watts was predicting this situation. He spoke of it in the 60s. So spend time looking at this, please. Ride this elevator of information. Spend the time. Press the buttons here and ride this information. Alan Watts instructs us on game mechanics, teaching as a tutorial this fact that we are playing, and also how to be a super organism, how to be unerasable. His information is a tutorial about the internet future. So please let me know your questions. We need to know this vital information. I am just a guy. I don't know anything. I have just seen some of this information. I keep no gate. I'm just a guy who's looked at this information, and I'm trying to invite you to look at it too. Censorship actually makes us less erasable, is the lesson here. But that act requires the courage to play, to start the game. How can we be a superorganism, to be in contact? How to do that, how to be in contact, is the information of our internet mind. Our superorganismness, our personness gathered here. So this is a standalone architecture about this. The reason why I am here trying to contact us, to become the superorganism. Alan Watts' instructions to the internet future. How to do it. How to be unerasable. How to be in contact. How do we contact us? That is what I'm here to tell us.